It's been over half a century, 50 long years. But now, humanity is finally heading back to the moon. We're talking about 4 astronauts on a really daring 10-day journey. Now, they're not going to land, not yet. This mission is all about looping around our celestial neighbor and, in the process, flying farther from Earth than anyone has since the Apollo days. So let's get into it. This is the story of Artemis 2, a mission that's absolutely critical for our return to deep space. Okay, so you might be thinking, after 50 years, why are we just doing a flyby? Why not land? And that's a totally fair question. The simple answer? You've got to walk before you can run. Think of Artemis 2 as the ultimate stress test. Before we can even dream of sending astronauts to land and live on the moon, let alone Mars, we first have to prove that this branding spacecraft, Orion, can actually do its job. Keep humans alive in the incredibly harsh environment of deep space. This mission? This is that test. And this is the crew that gets to do it. I mean, look at this team tasked with this historic flight. What's so remarkable is the diversity. For the very first time, we have a woman, Christina Cook, and a person of color, Victor Glover, flying a lunar mission. And check this out. Jeremy Hansen is from the Canadian Space Agency, making it a truly international team. This crew, right here, really represents a whole new era of space exploration. All right, so let's get to the launch. It all starts with, a controlled explosion, a massive one. Their journey kicks off aboard the Space Launch System, or SLS, which is just one of the most powerful rockets ever built by humans. And those first few hours of the mission, they are an incredibly precise, choreographed dance where literally thousands of things have to go exactly right on time. I mean, just try to imagine the forces at play here. At liftoff, that SLS rocket unleashes over 8 million pounds of thrust. It's insane. Just 2 minutes into the flight, they're already shedding those massive solid rocket boosters. A few hours after that, they're completely free of the rocket, and pilot Victor Glover actually gets to take Orion for a spin. Literally. He's manually flying it near the rocket's discarded upper stage. So this isn't just about getting into orbit, it's about proving the pilot can actually handle this brand new ship. But just getting into orbit, that's only the first step. To actually get to the moon, they have to make a choice. A really big one. A point of no return, really. They're about to perform a maneuver that hasn't been attempted with a crew on board since way back with the final Apollo mission in 1972. So this next phase, it's all about one single critical engine burn, the one that fully commits them to deep space. It has a cool name, Trans-Lunar Injection, or TLI for short. The best way to think of it is like a cosmic slingshot. It's one single, perfectly timed engine burn that accelerates Orion just enough to break free from Earth's gravity and start, falling towards the moon. If you get it wrong, you completely miss your target. But if you get it right, you're on your way. And after this, there is no easy way home. And right before that absolutely critical engine burn, mission specialist Christina Koch just put the whole moment into perspective with this really powerful thought. It just perfectly captures the idea that this isn't about leaving our planet behind, but exploring for it. And the burn, it was flawless. For almost 6 minutes, that engine fired, putting them on a really special path called a free return trajectory. And this is just a brilliant piece of celestial navigation. Basically, what it means is, if their engine failed later in the mission for some reason, the moon's own gravity would automatically grab the spacecraft, swing it around, and just fling it right back toward Earth. It's the ultimate safety net. And with that burn, they were officially on a path to make history. The Artemis 2 crew was all set to fly farther from our planet than any humans have ever been. They were about to break a record that has stood completely untouched since the super dramatic flight of Apollo 13, all the way back in 1970. So, they've survived the launch, they've committed to deep space, but what is it actually like? What's it like to live for 10 days in a capsule that's basically the size of an SUV? Well, it turns out it's this fascinating mix of the totally sublime and the surprisingly mundane. I mean, on the one hand, you have these highly trained astronauts doing these incredibly complex tasks, right? They're testing next-gen spacesuits, practicing emergency CPR in zero-G, and piloting a state-of-the-art spacecraft. And then, on the other hand, they're dealing with a mysterious burning smell coming from the toilet, a blocked urine vent that forced them to use backup pee bags, and troubleshooting a toilet fan that stopped working. It just goes to show you, even on the frontier of human exploration, sometimes you just have to be a plumber. And at the end of their very first day, Commander Reed Wiseman signed off with this simple but incredibly powerful message. It just perfectly captures the surreal reality of their situation, being so far away from everything and everyone they've ever known. But they weren't completely cut off. Mission Control would beam up daily wake-up songs to help keep their spirits high. And in a really, really touching moment, they even got a surprise message from Apollo 16 moonwalker Charlie Duke. I mean, that's a literal passing of the torch from the generation that walked on the moon to the next. And of course, they did what any of us would do in that situation. They just spent hours gazing out the window, taking in that breathtaking view of our home planet. So after 5 days of just coasting through space, the mission reached its climax. The crew wasn't just heading towards the moon anymore, they were arriving on its doorstep. They were getting ready for the main events. On flight day 5, Orion crossed this invisible line in space. It's called the moon's sphere of influence. But a better way to think about it is like a gravitational handover. It's the exact point where the moon's gravity finally becomes stronger than Earth's. So from that moment on, they weren't flying away from Earth anymore. They were actually falling toward the moon. And wow, what a day this was. The whole timeline was just packed with one historic moment after another. First, at 1:56 p.m., they officially flew farther from Earth than any human in history. Then, silence. At 6:44 p.m., they slipped behind the far side of the moon, which completely cut off all communication with Mission Control. For a really tense half hour, they were utterly alone out there. They skimmed just 4,000 miles above that hidden lunar surface before finally re-emerging into sunlight. And as a final, unbelievable spectacle, they got to witness something very few people have ever seen, a solar eclipse, caused by our own home planet blocking out the sun. So in the end, Artemis 2 is so much more than just a successful test flight. It's a statement. By flying farther than anyone before them and seeing our world from that truly unique vantage point, this crew reminds all of us of what's possible. You know, the original Earthrise photo from Apollo 8 completely changed how we saw our planet. So as this new generation follows in those historic footsteps, the real question is, what new perspective will they bring back for the rest of us?